The human ship Soul's Pride moved slowly through space toward Nexus Prime. Inside the ship, Ambassador Wu Jin looked out the window at the massive space station ahead. It was bigger than any human city. Hundreds of alien ships floated around, like insects around a bright light. Jin was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had been a soldier once, fighting in the wars on Mars. But now he carried papers instead of weapons. He was humanity's first ambassador to the galaxy. The weight of this mission pressed on his shoulders like a heavy coat. "Sir, we will dock in 2 hours," said Captain Nam Su. Su was shorter than Jin but built like a rock. Scars covered his hands from old battles. He never smiled, but Jin trusted him with his life. "Thank you, Captain," Jin replied. He turned to look at Lieutenant Park Hana, who stood by the door. She was young but sharp. Her eyes missed nothing. "Are you ready, Lieutenant?" "Yes, sir. I have checked all security systems 3 times, Hana said. She held a small device that could scan for weapons and poisons. "The aliens have many rules about what we can bring," Jin nodded. The aliens were careful people. They had good reason to be. Wars had burned across the galaxy for thousands of years before the Galactic Council brought peace. Now different species worked together instead of fighting. Humans wanted to join this peace. The ship's computer spoke with a woman's voice. "Ambassador, incoming message from Earth Command." "Put it through, Arya," Jin said. Arya was the ship's brain. She could think faster than any human and never forgot anything. President Li Min's face appeared on the screen. She was a small woman, with steel in her voice. "Jin, the whole world is watching. Make us proud." "I will do my best, Madam President," Jin replied. "Remember, we are not begging to join them. We are offering to help." "Humans have much to give," Li Min said. "I understand." The screen went dark. Jin walked to his room to prepare. He had spent months learning about alien cultures. The Velkari were made of living crystal and thought very slowly. The Nathari were gas creatures who floated in special suits. The Draxan looked like giant lizards and loved to fight. Each species had different ways of showing respect. Jin had to be careful not to make mistakes. One wrong word could ruin everything. 2 hours later, the Soul's Pride docked at Nexus Prime. The station was old beyond human understanding. Ancient metal corridors stretched in all directions. Strange lights glowed in the walls. The air tasted of metal and electricity. Jin walked through the corridors with Su and Hana behind him. Aliens of every shape and size moved around them. Some walked on 4 legs. Others floated in the air. A few looked almost human but with different colored skin or extra arms. They stared at the humans with curious eyes. Humans were new to the galaxy. Most aliens had never seen one before. "This way, Ambassador," said a Velkari guide. The crystal being moved like a walking jewel. Its voice sounded like bells ringing. "The council waits for you." The meeting room was enormous. A great circle of seats surrounded a speaking platform. Representatives from 50 different species sat in the seats. Jin felt very small. The Velkari speaker stood first. "Welcome, humans. I am Krista 9, speaker for the collective. We have heard much about your species." "Thank you for having us," Jin replied. He bowed as he had practiced. "We come in peace, hoping to learn and share." A Nathari floating in a gas suit spoke next. Its voice was like wind through leaves. "You humans grow fast and spread quickly across worlds. Some worry about this." "We seek only friendship and trade," Jin said. "We have much to offer and much to learn." Then General Thokvar of the Draxan Empire stood. He was huge, covered in green scales, with teeth like knives. His eyes were cold yellow stones. "Humans fight many wars. You destroy your own kind for land and resources. Why should we trust you?" Jin felt the room grow quiet. This was the hard question he had expected. "Yes, we have fought wars, but we learned from our mistakes. We united our world. We ended our conflicts. Now we seek to do the same among the stars." Thokvar's tail swept the floor behind him. "Pretty words, but leopards do not change their spots." "What is a leopard?" asked a small alien with 6 arms. A human saying, Jin explained. It means that creatures cannot change their nature. But I disagree. Humans can change. We can grow. We can become better. The meeting continued for hours. Jin answered many questions. Some aliens seemed interested, others looked doubtful. Thokvar asked the hardest questions and smiled when Jin struggled to answer. When the meeting ended, Jin felt tired but hopeful. Several species had shown interest in human technology and culture. The Velkari wanted to study human art. The Nethari were curious about human science. That night, Jin stayed in guest quarters inside the station. Sue and Hana had rooms nearby. The walls were thick, but strange sounds echoed through them. Alien voices speaking in languages humans did not understand. Jin could not sleep. He stood by the window looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, small and blue and beautiful. Billions of humans waited to hear if they would be accepted by the galaxy. A soft knock came at his door. Hana entered with a security report. Sir, I have been monitoring alien communications. Most species seem curious about us. But the Draxan are different. How so? They speak privately among themselves in their old language. Arya cannot translate it all, but she caught some words. They see us as a threat. Jin nodded slowly. He had felt Thokvar's hostility during the meeting. Keep monitoring, but do not worry too much. Fear often comes before understanding. Yes, sir, there is one more thing. Tomorrow you will present humanity's formal petition to the full council. This will be broadcast across the galaxy. Billions of aliens will watch. No pressure at all, Jin said with a small smile. Hana smiled back. It was rare to see her relax. You will do well, sir. You speak from the heart. That matters. After she left, Jin returned to the window. The stars seemed brighter now. Tomorrow would decide humanity's future among them. He thought of his wife back on Earth, of his children, of all the humans who dreamed of walking among the stars as friends rather than conquerors. He did not know that in another part of the station, General Thokvar was meeting with his officers. The Draxan leader's eyes glowed with dangerous light as he spoke in his ancient tongue. The humans must not be allowed to join the council, Thokvar said. They breed too fast. They adapt too quickly. In 100 years they will outnumber us all. In 200 they will rule the galaxy. What do you propose, General? Asked his aide. An accident. During tomorrow's ceremony. The Velkari gift will malfunction, such a tragedy. But these things happen with alien technology. The Draxan officers nodded. They did not understand that they were making the worst mistake in galactic history. They thought they were preventing a threat. Instead, they were creating something far more dangerous. A sleeping giant that, once awakened, would show the galaxy what humans were truly capable of when they chose to stop being peaceful. The Grand Assembly Hall of Nexus Prime was full of aliens. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the curved seats that rose up like a great bowl. At the center stood a speaking platform where Ambassador Wu Jin would present humanity's petition to join the Galactic Council. Jin stood in the waiting area, checking his speech one final time. The words were simple but came from his heart. Captain Nam Su stood beside him, eyes scanning the crowd for threats. Lieutenant Park Hana watched from the security booth high above, her fingers ready on the emergency controls. It is time, announced Krista 9, the Velkari speaker. The crystal being's voice rang like music through the hall. Jin walked onto the platform. Thousands of alien eyes watched him. Cameras recorded everything to broadcast across the galaxy. This moment would be remembered forever. Honored representatives, Jin began, his voice clear and strong. I stand before you not as a conqueror or a beggar, but as a friend. Humanity offers its hand in fellowship to the galaxy. The translation devices hummed as his words were changed into hundreds of alien languages. Some creatures nodded, others listened with tilted heads or raised tentacles. We know what you think of us, Jin continued. You see a young species that fought wars on its own world. You wonder if we can be trusted. I do not blame you for these doubts. We have made mistakes. We have learned from them. General Thokvar sat in the Draxon section, his yellow eyes fixed on Jin. His clawed hands gripped the arms of his chair. "But look at what humans have built together," Jin said, his voice growing stronger. "We ended hunger on our world. We stopped the wars that once divided us. We reached for the stars not to conquer them, but to explore them. We offer you our science, our art, our friendship." Several alien delegates leaned forward, interested. The Nathari whispered among themselves in their wind-like voices. Even some Draxon officers seemed to listen carefully. "We do not ask you to. Trust us because of our words," Jin said. "We ask you to judge us by our actions. Give us a chance to prove that humans can be good neighbors among the stars." In the security booth, Hana watched the crowd's reactions. Most seemed positive. The Velkari crystals glowed brighter, which meant they were pleased. The small Kepteri clapped their 6 hands together. But something was wrong. Hana's instruments detected an energy buildup somewhere in the hall. She scanned the readings, trying to find the source. On the platform, Jin was finishing his speech. "We come to you with open hands and open hearts. We hope you will accept us not as subjects or conquerors, but as friends and equals. Together we can build a future worthy of all our children." The hall erupted in sounds of approval. Some aliens clapped. Others made their own species signs of respect. Even a few Draxon officers seemed moved by the speech. Krista 9 rose from her seat. In her crystal hands she held a beautiful object that looked like a flower made of light. "Ambassador Jin, please accept this gift from the Velkari Collective. It is a symbol of growing friendship between our peoples." Jin walked toward the Velkari speaker, smiling. This was going better than he had dared to hope. Captain Su followed, a few steps behind, his hand near his weapon but his face relaxed. Hana's instrument screamed with alarm. The energy reading was off the charts now, and it was coming from the Velkari gift. "Security alert!" she shouted into her communicator. "Captain Su, the gift is a weapon." Su heard the warning through his earpiece and threw himself toward Jin, but he was too far away. The crystalline flower in Krista 9's hands began to glow with deadly light. The Velkari speaker looked confused and frightened. "I do not understand. This was supposed to be a simple light display." General Thokvar smiled from his seat. His plan was working perfectly. The gift had been secretly modified by Draxon saboteurs. To everyone watching, it would look like a terrible accident with Velkari technology. The energy field exploded outward from the crystalline flower. It was not a normal weapon that burned or exploded. Instead, it pulled apart the very atoms that made up living beings. Jin saw the light coming toward him. He thought of his wife and children back on Earth. He thought of all the humans counting on him. In his last second, he whispered, "I am sorry." The field caught Jin first, then Su, who had almost reached him. Both men simply dissolved, their atoms scattered like dust in the wind. They did not scream or fall. They just stopped existing. The hall fell silent. Thousands of aliens stared at the empty space where the human ambassador and his guard had stood. The only sound was Krista 9's crystal voice breaking with grief. No, this was not supposed to happen. This was just a ceremonial light. How could it? She looked at the device in her hands with horror. In the security booth, Hana stared at the readings on her screen. The weapon signature was wrong for Velkari technology. It looked more like modified Draxon military hardware. She began recording everything, her hands shaking with rage and grief. General Thokvar stood up slowly, his face showing fake sadness. What a terrible accident. The Draxon Empire offers its deepest regrets for this tragedy. Sometimes alien technology fails in unexpected ways. Several aliens nodded sadly. Accidents happened when different technologies mixed. Everyone knew this, but Hana knew better. She activated the emergency transmission protocol, sending encrypted signals directly to Earth. The ship's AI, Area, was already copying every piece of data about what had really happened. "The assembly is closed," announced one of the senior council members. "We will investigate this tragedy thoroughly." As aliens filed out of the hall, many looked sad and frightened. The humans had seemed nice. Their ambassador had spoken with wisdom and kindness. Now he was dead, killed by the very ceremony meant to welcome him. Thakvar gathered his officers around him. "Send word to the Empire," he said quietly. "The human threat has been eliminated. They will probably send another ambassador eventually, but by then we will be ready for them too." His aide nodded. "What about the female human in the security booth?" "One lone human cannot threaten us. Let her report back to her people. They will see that accidents happen to those who venture too far from home." But Thakvar had made a fatal mistake. He thought like a Draxan warrior, direct and obvious. He did not understand how human minds worked when someone they loved was murdered. In her booth, Hana continued recording and transmitting. She documented every Draxan officer's reaction, every word they spoke, every small detail that might be important later. Her training as a human soldier was taking over. She also activated Jin's personal emergency protocol. Before leaving Earth, Jin had recorded a final message to be sent home only if he died under suspicious circumstances. The message was simple. "If you are hearing this, then I am dead and it was not an accident. Do what must be done." Arya received the activation code and immediately began transmitting Jin's final words toward Earth at faster than light speed. The message would reach home in 3 days. The galaxy thought they had seen the end of the human problem. They expected Earth to send angry messages or maybe recall their other diplomats. They had no idea what was really coming. As Hana packed Jin's belongings, she found his personal journal. The last entry was dated that morning. "If something happens to me, I hope humanity remembers that some things are worth dying for, but more importantly, some things are worth living to protect." She closed the journal and looked out at the alien ships around Nexus Prime. They had no idea what they had just awakened. Humans had been peaceful because they chose to be, not because they had to be. Now that choice was about to be taken away from them. The galaxy was about to learn the difference between a species that couldn't fight and a species that chose not to fight. The news reached Earth exactly 72 hours after Ambassador Wu Jin died. President Li Min sat in her office reading Lieutenant Park Hana's report when the weight of what had happened finally hit her. The galaxy's first human ambassador had been murdered, and the killers thought they could hide behind lies about accidents. Li Min did not cry. She did not shout. She pressed a single button on her desk that sent a coded message to 5 people. Within an hour, they were all sitting around a table in the most secure room on Earth. Admiral Choi Wu was the first to arrive. He was an old man with white hair and scars from the Mars colony wars. His eyes were like winter ice. General Kim Bo came next, a small woman who had never lost a battle. Then came Intelligence Director Yoon Soo, who knew secrets that could topple governments. The last two were different. Dr. Han Sol was a scientist who studied alien life forms. She looked gentle and kind, the sort of person who would help injured animals. But her mind was sharp as a blade. The final person was Minister Kang Do, who handled humanity's finances and production. "They killed Jin," Li Min said simply. "Lieutenant, Hana's evidence proves the Draxan Empire planned his murder." Admiral Choi's hands closed into fists. "Give me a fleet. I will make them pay." "No," Li Min said. "That is exactly what they expect. They think we are simple creatures who fight with anger instead of brains. They are wrong." She placed a thick folder on the table. Jin helped design this before he left Earth. He called it Protocol Omega. He knew someone might try to kill him. General Kim opened the folder and read the first page. Her eyebrows rose. "This is not a battle plan. This is something else entirely." Jin was a soldier before he became a diplomat, Li Min explained. He understood that sometimes peace must be protected by those willing to do terrible things. If humanity's first ambassador was murdered through treachery, then our response needed to make sure it never happened again. Dr. Hansel read over Kim's shoulder. Her gentle face grew very serious. "Some of these requirements will take months to fulfill, the biological research alone. Then we begin immediately," Li Min said. "But we tell no one. The galaxy must think we are weak and confused by grief. Let them believe humans cannot respond to such attacks. Intelligence Director Yoon spoke for the first time. I will need to extract Lieutenant Hana from Nexus Prime. She has more evidence, and she is the only witness who understands what really happened. Make it happen, Lee Min ordered. What about our other diplomatic missions? We recall them all, Admiral Choi said. But quietly. We say they need to return for consultation about Jin's death. No one must suspect we are preparing for war. This is not war, General Kim corrected, still reading the protocol. War would be simpler. This is something the galaxy has never seen before. Over the following weeks, humanity began to change in ways that were invisible from the outside. Factory. Ships in the asteroid belt suddenly switched from building civilian vessels to military ones. Research stations stopped studying peaceful projects and began working on weapons that had never been built before. Dr. Han Sol received every piece of biological data that human spies had ever collected about alien species. She studied Draxan, DNA, Draxan culture, Draxan psychology. She learned how their bodies worked and what they feared most. They are warriors, she told her research team. Everything in their society is based on strength and honor in battle. But what if we could take away their ability to feel aggression? Her assistant, a young scientist named Park Jun, looked confused. You mean make them peaceful? Not peaceful. Unable to be anything else. We could rewrite their genetic code to remove the parts of their brain that create violent thoughts. That seems... June paused, searching for the right word. Horrible. Yes, Dr. Han agreed. It is horrible. That is why we will only threaten to use it, not actually release it. The fear of losing what makes them Draxon will be worse than death to them. Meanwhile, Admiral Choi worked with human shipyards to create vessels unlike anything in the galaxy. They were small and fast, with new stealth technology reverse-engineered from alien designs that human spies had stolen over the years. We will not fight their fleets directly, he explained to his captains. We will make their ships disappear. We will capture their leaders. We will show them that size and strength mean nothing against intelligence and planning. General Kim trained special forces units for missions that sounded impossible. Her soldiers learned to infiltrate alien worlds, capture specific targets, and vanish without leaving traces. They practiced on abandoned colonies until they could take over entire cities without firing a shot. Remember, she told them, we are not trying to kill aliens. We are trying to teach them that killing humans has consequences they cannot imagine. Intelligence Director Yoon worked the hardest of all. He sent human agents across the galaxy to gather information about every species, every military base, every political leader. The aliens thought humans were simple and direct. They had no idea how well humans could spy and lie when they needed to. His agents posed as traitors, tourists, and refugees. They mapped alien defenses, recorded alien communications, and learned alien secrets. Within 6 months, humanity knew more about galactic military capabilities than most aliens knew about their own forces. President Lee Min watched it all from her office on Earth. Regular reports came in from every project. Humanity was becoming something new and frightening, all in complete silence. Status report, she said during one of their weekly meetings. The stealth fleet will be ready in 4 months, Admiral Choi reported. 60 ships with crews trained for deep space operations. Special forces training is complete, General Kim added. 500 soldiers ready for deployment anywhere in the galaxy. The biological weapon is ready for testing, Dr. Han said, quietly. We can demonstrate its effects without releasing it widely. Intelligence networks are in place, Director Yoon finished. We know where every major Draxan leader lives, works, and sleeps. Lee Min nodded. And Lieutenant Hana, successfully extracted from Nexus Prime 3 weeks ago, Yoon said. She brought additional evidence of Draxan involvement. She also volunteered for the response mission. Good. How long until we are ready? 2 more months, Admiral Choi said. But Madam President, once we begin, there will be no going back. The galaxy will see us very differently afterward. Lee Min looked out the window at the blue skies of Earth. Somewhere up there, among the stars, aliens thought they had solved their human problem by murdering an innocent diplomat. Jin believed that peace could only exist when good people were willing to do terrible things to protect it, she said. The aliens made their choice when they killed him. Now they will live with the consequences. The meeting ended, and humanity's leaders returned to their preparations. Across human space, millions of people worked on projects they did not fully understand. They knew only that their first ambassador had been murdered and that their leaders were planning a response. The galaxy continued as normal. Trade flowed between species. The Galactic Council met and discussed minor issues. The Draxon Empire celebrated their successful elimination of the human threat. None of them noticed the small ships that appeared briefly on their sensor screens before vanishing again. None of them realized that their most sensitive communications were being intercepted and decoded. None of them understood that humanity was preparing to do something that had never been done before in galactic history. In the deepest vaults of Earth's military headquarters, a single message waited to be broadcast. It was only 27 words long, but those words would soon shake every civilization among the stars. The message would be sent by President Lee Min herself when the time was right. Until then, it waited in the darkness, while humanity's most dangerous minds prepared to show the galaxy what happened when you murdered someone's ambassador. The countdown had begun, though the aliens did not know it yet. 6 months after Ambassador Wu Jin's death, the first Draxon patrol ship disappeared. The vessel Claw of Honor was patrolling the outer edge of Draxon space when it simply vanished. No distress call, no debris field, no explosion on sensors. One moment the ship was there, the next moment it was gone. General Tokvar read the report in his office on Draxon Prime. The loss of one patrol ship was not unusual. Space was dangerous. Ships sometimes hit asteroids or suffered system failures. Probably pirates, he told his aide. Double the patrols in that sector. 3 days later, 2 more ships disappeared in different sectors. Then another one. Within 2 weeks, 8 Draxon patrol vessels had vanished without trace. This is not normal, Thokvar's aide said, studying the reports. The ships are disappearing, in areas with no known dangers, and there are no distress signals. Thokvar's yellow eyes narrowed. Send a battle squadron to investigate. If pirates are taking our ships, we will crush them. The battle squadron found nothing. No wreckage, no pirates, no clues. But while they searched, 3 more patrol ships disappeared in other sectors. Whatever was happening, it was getting worse. High above the missing ships, invisible to all Draxon sensors, Admiral Choi Wu watched from the bridge of Ambassador's Vengeance. His stealth fleet moved through space like ghosts, using technology that the Draxon Empire could not detect or understand. Target acquired, reported Captain Lee. So from the ship Silent Justice. Draxon patrol vessel approaching our position. Capture, do not destroy, Admiral Choi ordered. We need the crew, alive for questioning. The Draxon patrol ship Bloodrunner never saw what hit it. Invisible beams disabled its engines and weapons while boarding pods attached to its hull. Human soldiers in advanced suits cut through the airlock and swept through the ship in minutes. Tingay. Draxon crew fought bravely, but they were facing an enemy they could not see or understand. Sleep gas filled the corridors. When the Draxons woke up, they were in human prison cells, and their ship was gone. On the research vessel New Sol, Dr. Han Sol interviewed the captured Draxons. She was still gentle and kind, offering them good food and comfortable cells. But her questions cut like surgical knives into their minds. Tell me about your military structure, she said to a Draxon captain. How do your fleets communicate? Who gives the orders? I will tell you nothing, human, the captain snarled. We are warriors. We do not break. Dr. Han smiled sadly. I am not trying to break you. I am trying to understand you. Did you know that your brain chemistry is very similar to humans? When you feel anger, the same chemicals flow through your system. When you feel fear, your heart beats faster, just like ours. She showed him charts and diagrams of Draxon biology. Your species is fascinating, so strong, so proud, but also so changeable. A few small alterations to your genetic code and you could become something completely different. The captain's eyes widened as he understood what she meant. You cannot. That would make us not Draxon anymore. Exactly, Dr. Han said softly. No more warriors. No more pride in battle. No more aggression at all. You would become peaceful philosophers who could not hurt a fly. Is that what you want for your people? The captain began to talk. Meanwhile, General Kim Bo led ground operations on 3 Draxon colony worlds. Her soldiers moved like shadows through alien cities, identifying targets and striking with precision that amazed even themselves. On the farming colony of Draxon 7, the planetary governor simply vanished from his bedroom in the middle of the night. Security cameras showed nothing. Guards heard nothing. One moment he was sleeping peacefully, the next moment his bed was empty. The same thing happened to military commanders, government officials, and police chiefs across 3 worlds. They did not die. They simply disappeared, leaving behind only confusion and fear. The captured officials were taken to converted human prison ships hidden in deep space. The cells were clean and comfortable, with good food and medical care. But for proud Draxon warriors, being prisoners was worse than death. "Release me," roared Commander Vextor, pounding on his cell door. "Let me die with honor." "You are not going to die," said his human guard, a young woman who spoke perfect Draxon language. "You are going to sit here and think about what your empire did to our ambassador. That was an accident. We both know that is not true. Your General Thokvar planned Ambassador Jin's murder. We have recordings of him giving the orders." Vextor stopped pounding on the door. "You have recordings?" "We have everything. Every communication, every secret meeting, every detail of how your people planned to kill an innocent diplomat. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" Back on Draxon Prime, General Thokvar was beginning to panic. Dozens of ships had disappeared. Hundreds of his best officers were missing. Colony worlds were reporting that their leaders had vanished without trace. "Who is doing this?" he demanded of his intelligence officers. "What enemy has such power?" "We do not know, General. The attacks show no pattern we can recognize. Ships disappear in empty space. People vanish from secured buildings. Our sensors detect nothing unusual." Thokvar slammed his clawed fist on the table. "It must be the humans. They are the only ones with reason to attack us." "Sir, humans do not have this kind of technology. Their fleet is small and primitive. They could never coordinate attacks across our entire territory." But Thokvar's warrior instincts told him the truth. Somehow the humans were responsible. The species he had thought weak and harmless was striking back with methods he could not understand or counter. Then President Li Min's message arrived. Every communications device in Draxon space received it simultaneously. Every screen, every radio, every computer terminal displayed the same image. A small human woman sitting calmly at a desk. "People of the Draxon Empire," she said in perfect Draxon language. "I am Li Min, President of the Human Federation. 6 months ago, your leaders murdered our ambassador through treachery and lies. You thought this crime would go unpunished because humans are weak and peaceful." The image never wavered. Her voice never changed. She looked directly into the camera, as if speaking to each individual Draxon personally. "You were wrong. We are not weak. We are not helpless. We have your ships. We have your officers. We have your leaders. We have proof of your crimes. And we have weapons you cannot imagine." Across Draxon space, millions of aliens listened with growing fear. "Return our ambassador's remains to us. Confess your crime before the Galactic Council. Surrender those responsible for planning his murder. You have 30 standard days to comply." The transmission continued for exactly 60 seconds, then ended. But the message was clear. The humans were no longer hiding. They were no longer weak. They were angry, and they wanted justice. General Thokvar stared at his blank screen for a long time after the message ended. Around him, his remaining officers waited for orders. But for the first time in his military career, the great Draxon general had no idea what to do. He had awakened something in the humans that he did not understand. Something patient and intelligent and utterly without mercy. Something that could reach into the heart of the Draxan Empire and take whatever it wanted without being seen or stopped. "General?" his aide asked quietly. "What are your orders?" Thakvar looked at the frightened faces around him. These were warriors who had conquered worlds and defeated entire fleets. Now they were afraid of an enemy they could not see or fight. "Send a message to all Draxan forces," he said finally. "Tell them the humans are more dangerous than we thought. Much more dangerous." But it was already too late. The 30-day countdown had begun, and somewhere in the darkness of space, Admiral Choi Woo was preparing for the final phase of humanity's response. The Draxan Empire was about to learn that there were worse things than being defeated in battle. There were worse things than death in honorable combat. They were about to learn what happened when you made humanity stop being peaceful. On day 31, the citizens of Draxan Prime woke to discover that their world had changed overnight. The planetary defense grid that protected their homeworld was completely offline. Every satellite, every orbital platform, every defensive station had simply stopped working. Not destroyed, not damaged, just turned off as if someone had flipped a switch. In the capital city, government workers arrived at their offices to find empty buildings. The Supreme War Council chamber was vacant. The Defense Ministry was deserted. The Imperial Palace had no guards, no servants, no officials. Even General Thakvar's private office was empty, his chair still warm from the night before. Across the planet, families discovered that their fathers, brothers, and sons in the military had vanished without trace. Not just the leaders this time, but thousands of officers and their families. Gone in one night as if they had never existed. High above Draxan Prime, Admiral Choi Woo's stealth fleet hung invisible in orbit. 60 human ships surrounded the Draxan homeworld like a deadly web that no sensors could detect. All primary targets captured, reported Captain Namda from the ship Jin's Vengeance. Government officials and their families are aboard the prison ships. No casualties among our forces. Excellent work, Admiral Choi replied. He looked out at the world below, where millions of Draxan civilians were beginning to realize what had happened to them. Broadcast the message. Every screen on Draxan Prime lit up with the same image. Admiral Choi Woo standing on the bridge of his flagship, wearing a dress uniform that was perfectly clean despite the night of military operations. "People of Draxan Prime," he said calmly. "Your leaders are safe aboard our ships. Your defense grid is under our control. Your military command structure no longer exists. We accomplished all of this without killing a single Draxan civilian." The Admiral paused to let this sink in. On the planet below, millions of proud warriors realized they were completely helpless. This is what human military capability looks like when we stop trying to be peaceful. Your empire murdered our ambassador because you thought we were weak. You believed we could not respond to such an attack. You were wrong. On the prison ship Remembrance, Dr. Han Sol was preparing her final demonstration. In a sealed laboratory, she had created a small sample of her biological weapon. The test subjects were volunteers from among the captured Draxan officers who wanted to prove their courage. "This will not hurt," she told Commander Vextor, who had agreed to be the first test subject. "You will feel no pain. You will remember everything. You will simply become different." The weapon was delivered through the air system of a small test chamber. Vextor breathed normally, showing no fear. He was a Draxan warrior facing his enemy with honor. Then the change began. Within minutes, the aggression drained from Vextor's eyes. His warrior's posture softened. When Dr. Han asked him a question, he answered thoughtfully instead of snarling defiance. When she showed him a weapon, he looked at it with curiosity rather than desire. "How do you feel?" she asked gently. "Strange," Vextor replied, his voice calm and wondering. "I remember being angry, but I cannot feel anger anymore. I remember wanting to fight, but fighting seems pointless now. Why would anyone want to hurt others?" The other captured Draxan officers watched through the observation window in horror. Their proud commander had become something else entirely, still Draxan in body, but no longer Draxan in spirit. "This is what we could do to your entire species," Dr. Han told them. one atmospheric release over each of your worlds, and within a day, no Draxan would ever feel the urge to fight again. You would become a peaceful people whether you wanted to or not. The demonstration was broadcast live to every Draxan world. Billions of warriors watched their proud commander become docile and philosophical. The terror this created was exactly what humanity had planned. But the real shock came when President Lee Min made her final broadcast to the galaxy. Standing before the assembled leaders of every human world, she looked directly into the cameras that would carry her words to billions of alien viewers across the galaxy. Citizens of the galaxy, she began. 31 days ago, I gave the Draxan Empire a choice. They could return our ambassadors' remains, confess their crime, and surrender those responsible. Or they could face the consequences of murdering an innocent human diplomat. The leaders of 100 alien species watched from their homeworlds, many of them terrified by what they had seen humanity accomplish in just 6 months. The Draxan Empire chose to ignore our demands. They believed humans were too weak to enforce them. Today they learned the truth about human capabilities when we choose to stop being peaceful. She gestured to a screen showing Admiral Choi's fleet surrounding Draxan Prime. We have captured their leadership, disabled their defenses, and demonstrated weapons that could fundamentally alter their species. We could have destroyed their empire. We could have conquered their worlds. We could have turned their warriors into peaceful philosophers who would never again threaten anyone. The pause that followed seemed to stretch forever. But we choose not to. Across the galaxy, alien leaders gasped in surprise. Even some human officials looked confused. Effective immediately, we are returning all captured Draxan personnel to their homes. We are restoring their defense systems. We are offering them full diplomatic relations and favorable trade agreements. The Draxan Empire will become humanity's closest ally in the galaxy, not our conquered enemy. On Draxan Prime, General Thokvar materialized in his office as human teleporter technology returned him from the prison ship. Around the planet, thousands of other officials and officers appeared in their homes, confused but unharmed. Thokvar found a message waiting on his desk. It was handwritten in perfect Draxan script. Your people are brave warriors who deserve better leadership than those who would murder ambassadors through treachery. We hope you will help us build a galaxy where such crimes never happen again. Admiral Choi Woo. President Lee Min continued her broadcast. The galaxy has learned something important today. Humanity has the power to destroy our enemies completely, but we choose to show mercy instead. We choose to make allies instead of corpses. She looked directly into the camera, and her next words would be remembered for centuries. We demonstrated this power not because we enjoy violence, but because we despise it. We showed you what we could do so that we would never have to do it again. Any species that considers harming human diplomats in the future should remember what happened to the Draxan Empire. We can reach anywhere, take anyone, and accomplish anything we set our minds to accomplish. The broadcast ended with a simple message. Ambassador Park Hana will be arriving at Nexus Prime next week to present humanity's petition for Galactic Council membership. We trust there will be no accidents this time. 3 months later, the Galactic Council voted unanimously to accept humanity as a member species. The vote was not close. Several alien species had abstained from voting not because they opposed humanity, but because they were too frightened to risk even appearing to stand against the humans. Ambassador Park Hana delivered her first speech to a packed assembly hall. But this time, her security detail included not just human guards but also Draxan warriors who had volunteered to protect her with their lives. General Thokvar himself stood at attention beside the speaking platform. The old warrior had become humanity's most vocal supporter in the galaxy. Having learned the difference between strength that destroys and strength that protects, the humans taught us something we had forgotten, he later told other military leaders. True strength is not the power to destroy your enemies. True strength is having that power and choosing not to use it. The galaxy settled into a new order. Trade between humans and other species flourished. Human technology began to spread, improving life for billions. Human diplomats were treated with respect and protection wherever they went. But in the deepest files of every alien government, detailed reports described exactly what humanity had accomplished in 6 months of silent preparation. These reports were marked with the highest security classifications and a simple warning: never again threaten human ambassadors. Dr. Han Sol returned to peaceful research, her biological weapons locked away in secure vaults. Admiral Choi converted his stealth fleet to exploration and rescue missions. General Kim retrained her special forces for disaster relief and humanitarian aid. President Lee Min stepped down after one more term, satisfied that she had done what needed to be done. In her final speech, she said, "We showed the galaxy our true face not because we wanted to frighten them, but because we wanted them to understand us. Humans are dangerous when we need to be, gentle when we choose to be, and wise enough to know the difference." Years passed. Human colonies spread across the galaxy in peace. Human scientists shared their discoveries freely. Human doctors healed aliens and humans alike. Human teachers helped other species learn and grow. But in the military academies of every species, cadets still studied the Draxon incident. They learned how humanity had responded to the murder of their first ambassador. They studied the tactics, the technology, and the terrifying restraint that had turned potential enemies into grateful allies. The lesson was always the same. Humans were not to be trifled with, not because they were violent,